To the markets here as we do have that rally underway. Interestingly, though, the tech sector not being one of those participants in this rally, still in the red on a sector basis there. I want to bring on our next guest for more on all the market moves here. I want to welcome Allan Boomer, Momentum Advisors Managing Partner and Chief Investment Officer. He joins us now. And Allan, I mean, when we look at it, I guess you could make the case that regulation concerns are maybe top of mind for investors in the tech space here. We've seen antitrust enforcement actions being pressed. What do you make of maybe how the Georgia results here might change the balance between growth stocks and cyclicals?
First of all, thanks for having me and Happy New Year. I think this runoff election was big. You know, it determines the balance of power in the Senate, which really has an implication around fiscal stimulus. You know, the government has so far approved $900 billion in stimulus in this next round of stimulus, but what was asked for, months ago was 2.4 trillion. So I think there's an expectation that we could get more stimulus. I think there's a fear that there could be higher taxes, both on the individual side and on the corporate side. And I think there's certain industries that are viewed as sort of the winners of this runoff election, healthcare being a winner and clearly tech being a loser. Now, the one thing that I think the market might be signaling today is that there is going to be a shift underway. And even if it's not that tech stocks are going to be targeted by the government, it also could be that it's time for the rest of the market to perform. If you think about last year, tech stocks did really, really well, but there were a lot of companies that were very profitable that really went under the radar that today are trading at really low valuations. And I think 2021 will be the story of a return to valuations, a return to value as an investment theme.
When you look at the major indices today, of course, the Dow and the S&P 500 hitting new highs, but we're also seeing the Russell 2000 getting a big pop right now, up about 4%. How are you positioning yourself in some of the more small cap names?
Yeah, so I like the small cap. I think that small caps, if you think about the last 10 years, they have not participated in the rebound as much as large cap stocks have. And with the new administration, the blue wave that we're on the precipice of, there's a lot that will come forth in fiscal stimulus that could be helpful to the consumer and also to small business. And when you think about small cap stocks, one of the kind of regional banks that I really like is Regions Financial. They are a company that trades they trade for less than 1 times book value. They have a 4% dividend yield. And, the stock has really had a lot of tremendous momentum in the last couple of months, which again signals to me that this trend will continue into 2021.
And one of those other stocks we were discussing last time you came on was our parent company, Verizon, as well, maybe potentially here playing kind of the tech. If you look past the regulation concerns that might be there for Facebook or Amazon or other big players there, you looked into kind of the network behind it. Is that still a name on your list, or maybe is that kind of the theme that you'd be looking to maybe reiterate to investors out there this year?
I talk about Verizon every chance I get. It's a company that is outstanding at producing profit. It has a great balance sheet, a really strong dividend yield that's covered by actual cash flow. When you think about even the last recession that we had, the financial crisis, Verizon was one of the few companies that maintained its profitability during that difficult time. And so again, this is a perfect example of a stock that's very important, but very overlooked. How many of us have spent time on Zoom, on conference calls, our connectivity at home and at our home offices, and for our kids who are being educated at home has never been more important. And so I think Verizon is one of these overlooked names. When you think about the stay-at-home trade, they did not benefit from it, although they really should have.
On the stay-at-home trades, though, we had that note from Jefferies yesterday saying maybe this is the time to think about getting out, because the expectation here, if there is a pickup in this vaccine rollout, is that there will be enough people inoculated maybe in the second half of the year to allow for things to resume back to normal or a new normal. What's your thought on that front? If you look at a name like a Zoom, is that still a good play, even with the outlook and some hope on the other end going into the second half of the year, at least as it relates to the pandemic?
Sure. I think there's a lot of positive news about the vaccine. One stat that I read is that by the end of June, more than 90% of the population, there's enough vaccine to cover more than 90% of the US population. That estimate is way earlier than what we were talking about just a few months ago. And so that is a huge positive. When I think about a company like Zoom, it's not that I think Zoom is going away or is going to be any less important. What I'm looking for as an investor is value, right? And so when you think about a name like Zoom that's been bid way up, you have to then think about other companies that might have been kind of cast aside, that might not have caught as much attention. One name that I like that is a growth stock name, that is a stay-at-home type of name, is Peloton. Peloton did really well last year, and I think their company is going to keep growing. I think people are becoming more accustomed to working out in a variety of different environments. And I think Peloton has this cult following. That's one name that is sort of on the stay-at-home trade side that I'd continue to own.
And I should count myself as a Peloton follower as well, as certainly one that a lot of our guests have mentioned. Allan Boomer, Momentum Advisors Managing Partner and Chief Investment Officer. It's great to have you on today.
Great. Thanks for having me.